Okay, let's just get into it. It is Saturday. Your girl got a haircut. It is raining really hard where I am, so maybe we're gonna have some ASMR rain sound moments in this video. I don't know, we'll see. Welcome back. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. 안녕하세요 친구들. 내 채널에 다시 오신 것을 환영합니다. Today's video is going to be something that I wish I had when I got into K-pop last year. And I don't know if I'm going to call it like K-pop 101 or Intro to K-pop or Crash Course to K-pop, but basically today I'm covering the 10 biggest things that I had questions about when I got into K-pop last year, or the 10 biggest things I had no knowledge of when I got into K-pop last year. But first, I think I want to, at the start of every video, have a little highlight for what I'm learning in Korean right now. And I technically learned this a few months ago, but I feel like it's pertinent to today's video. So today that is going to be Sino-Korean numbers. Korean does have two different number systems. So there's Sino-Korean numbers and native Korean numbers. And I'm still a little bit fuzzy about when to use which number system. But for the purpose of today's video, I've heard in the past that Sino-Korean is oftentimes used for numbers larger than 100. So after I kind of do my little learning highlight, the example that I'll give when using Sino-Korean numbers will be my height in centimeters. So I think that that will be a correct usage of Sino-Korean, and someone can let me know if it's not. Without further ado, 1 through 10 in Sino-Korean is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So with Sino-Korean numbers, if you have the numbers 1 through 10 memorized, then you really just need to know kind of the next milestone numbers, I guess. Like the numbers for 100, 1,000, 100,000. If you can know 1 through 10 and you know those benchmark kind of numbers, then the rest is just doing math to figure out what the word is for any other given number. And this is where my height example comes into play. I am exactly 5 feet 5 inches tall, which is 165 centimeters. So if I wanted to say that I was 165 centimeters in Korean, 165 is 165. So that is my height in centimeters in Sino-Korean. And when I say that it's like doing math, the literal translation of that would be 100 is 100, that's the milestone term for 100. 60 is the word for 60, and O is the word for 5. So it's 100 plus 60 plus 5, 165. But if you get even more granular, 60 is 60, which is 6 tens, so that's also math. Another little example that I just thought of would be, you know, there's 365 days in a year, so that would be 365, and that would be 300 is 3 100s, 60, 6 tens, 5, so 3 100s plus 60 plus 5, and 60 is really 6 tens, so that's kind of how the Sino-Korean system works, which makes sense to me because I actually feel like it's kind of similar to how we count in English. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else. You can let me know if that makes sense to you or if it doesn't make sense at all, but it makes sense to me, so. Sino-Korean, baby. And before I get into the main content, just a reminder that I do have a commitment to citing my resources, but unfortunately a lot of this knowledge that I'm sharing in this video is just 1-year-old knowledge that's been stored in my brain from when I got into K-pop last year, and back then I was not diligently checking where I was pulling all the information from, so I was pretty much just Googling anything that I didn't know or anything I had a question about. I would just Google it. I did rely a lot on Reddit threads, so thank you, K-pop Redditors of the world. Okay, and I told you that the Sino-Korean numbers was an intentional choice for my learning spotlight this video, and that is because I'm now sharing the top 10 things I wish I knew last year when I got into K-pop. So I'll be counting off in Sino-Korean, which I'm realizing now I said that I thought that you should use Sino-Korean for numbers over 100. So maybe this is about to be wrong, but we're too far in now. We're committed. So anyway, the 10 biggest things that I had questions about when I got into K-pop last year, starting with il, which is comebacks. The term comeback is what is used to describe when a K-pop group puts out new music. So that could be a single, it could be a mini album, it could be a full album, but anytime a K-pop group or a solo artist is releasing new music, that is called a comeback. I think pretty much all the time with a comeback, you get a comeback promotion schedule, which normally lasts about 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes up to a month before the new music is set to be released. And then under the umbrella of comebacks is the term concept. So with every comeback, so let's say it's a full album, you'll have 3 to 4 different concepts for that comeback. So it will be one album, but there will be multiple different versions of that album that you can buy, and each version is called a concept. During a comeback promotion cycle, you get a ton of stuff. There's concept photos, teaser trailers, concept videos, track list releases, and this will be strategically released over time to line up with, most of the time, the title track music video being released the same time that the comeback comes out. Have no fear, I came prepared with an example because I am a visual learner and I know that that probably could have been a little bit confusing. I have here with me today Tomorrow by Together's most recent comeback, and for this particular release I have every concept for the comeback. You can see here that I have 3 individual concepts for this comeback. These are all the same album. So every single one of these has a CD inside that contains the same songs, but each one of these is a different concept. So each one has different concept photos and different content inside. This is all Tomorrow by Together Minisode 3 Tomorrow, which is all one comeback, but it had 3 different concepts. So 3 different versions. All right, moving on, we've got E. And this is going to be the term bias. And under bias, I'm also going to kind of talk about the terms alt and wrecker. I was very confused when I first got into K-pop because in America, the word bias typically has a very negative connotation. But in K-pop, your bias is your favorite member of a group. So if you wanted to say, my favorite member is ABC, you would say my bias is ABC. This term is something that I still struggle with a little bit, probably just because I grew up in America where bias has such different contexts. But you probably won't hear me talking about my biases very much on my channel. I'm also a very private person by nature, which is funny since I'm putting myself on the internet like this, but while I won't be talking about my biases, please feel free to tell me all about yours in the comments. I would love to hear about your biases. And then, like I mentioned, under the umbrella of bias, you have terms like alt and wrecker. And alt is short for ultimate. So it's like your #1 favorite idol forever across all groups. No one can beat them in your heart. I remember someone asked me one time, who is your alt? And I'm over here Googling like, what is an alt? K-pop. That's what an alt is, and you can have an alt group or just an alt singular idol. And then wrecker or bias wrecker is another term under this umbrella that I think sounds pretty self-explanatory, but maybe it's like your #2 favorite idol, but it's the person who has the biggest chance of wrecking your bias, of like stealing that #1 spot, overthrowing your bias. So that is what a wrecker is. My third topic to cover today would be the different positions within K-pop groups. So oftentimes idols are assigned to different positions within their group, and I would say 6 main positions are leader, maknae, vocal, dancer, rapper, and visual. You guessed it, the leader is the leader of a K-pop group. They lead the group introductions, they speak on behalf of the group at public events, they carry the weight of the group on their shoulders, and they make sure that all of their members are taken care of. It is a very stressful job, I would imagine, and a lot of responsibility, so I have a lot of admiration for K-pop group leaders. The maknae is always the youngest member of the group. And in America, we say maknae, but the Korean pronunciation is actually maknae, which literally translates to the youngest. I think that dancer, rapper, and vocalist are all pretty self-explanatory, but within each of those, you can also specify if someone is, for example, a lead rapper or a main rapper. And the slight difference between main and lead is that the main rapper would be the person who is the strongest at rapping or who has the most skill at rapping. And then the lead rapper kind of supports the main rapper. It's not necessarily that the lead rapper is second best. They just might have a different skill set that has qualified them as lead versus main. The visual can also be referred to as the face of the group. I think this position is the one that really threw me off the most when I got into K-pop. It's basically like the most attractive member of the group. I feel weird about it just because I never want anyone to feel left out or feel bad about themselves, but it's not really my place to speak on that, so that's what a visual is. Sa! I'm going to be kind of grouping several things together for this one, and that will be fandom names, fanchants, lightsticks, and then fan signs and fan calls. Every K-pop group has a name that they give their fans, and they're really special. I've found that groups tend to give a lot of weight to what they call their fans, and I really do feel a lot of love from the groups that I follow when they address their fandoms by fandom name. So fandom names are really important in K-pop. And some examples would be Tomorrow by Together's fans are called MOAs, which stands for Moments of Alwaysness. 17's fans are called carrots. It's not carrot like you eat, it's carrot like a diamond. BTS's fans are called ARMY. Stray Kids fans are called Stays. And G-Idol's fans are called Neverland. Fan chants are things that fans chant at concerts. And I have found that oftentimes fan chants are a sequence of saying all of the members' names forwards and backwards, and then ending on the group name or the fandom name. That sounds easy, but I've seen some become quite complex. 17, I'm looking at you. And they are a really important part of K-pop concert culture. Say that 5 times fast. K-pop concert culture. Lightsticks are another important part of K-pop concerts, and each K-pop group has their own lightstick, and every lightstick has a different design. It is a physical thing that you bring with you to K-pop concerts, and there's an app that you can connect your lightstick to, and it will sync your lightstick to light performances throughout the concert. For today's video, I actually have my 17 lightstick with me, and this is called a carrot bong. Carrot because that is what 17's fans are called, and then bong is actually the Korean word for stick, so carrot bong. You can see it's pretty big. It's kind of like the size of my head, maybe. But yeah, you just take this to concerts with you, and it syncs with the other light sticks, and it puts on its own little performance. And then fan signs and fan calls are very similar. I think the main difference is that fan signs are in person, so idols can sign things for you, and then fan calls are held virtually, so it's like a video call. And I think these are normally done to celebrate a comeback during a promotion cycle, but it is a really cool way to get to personally connect with idols if given the chance. Oh, fifth, we're going to be talking about K-pop variety content. I would say most K-pop groups put out their own original variety content, most of them once a week. These are videos that will release on K-pop groups' YouTube channels, and it's oftentimes very goofy content, and it's a really cool way to see a different side of the idols in the groups that you follow, because it gives you like a better feel for their personalities off stage. And how I've seen most variety content work is that there'll typically be several mini series where the same kind of topic will be covered in maybe 2 to 3 different videos over the course of 2 to 3 weeks, and then they'll switch to a new topic for the next little mini series that they're doing. And some examples of variety content would be 17's is called Going 17, Tomorrow by Togethers is called To Do, BTS's is called Run BTS, AT's is called Wanties, and Stray Kids is called Stray Kids Code. Yook. Next, we are talking about the app Weverse, which is a very user-friendly app, I have found. It is free to use, but you can pay for memberships to different K-pop groups' pages if you want to get extra content that's only for membership holders. It's a way to connect with artists that kind of feels like social media, but a little bit more personal. Idols can go live on Weverse and do a live stream. Media gets uploaded there. You can make posts there. Artists can make posts there. There are things called moments, which are like stories. It's also a place where a lot of announcements are made, so you can get a lot of information about tours, comeback announcements, health updates on different artists. You can also shop for merch on Weverse. There's also media that you can pay for through Weverse that's only available on Weverse. It's basically just like a K-pop one-stop shop where you can do a lot and access a lot of information, but not every K-pop group or solo artist is on Weverse, so I think it's worth checking to see if groups that you're interested in are on Weverse before you set up an account. Chill. Next, we're talking about Photocards. Photocards are a very big part of K-pop. Photocards are exactly what they sound like. They're little cards that are photos of K-pop group members, and they come in K-pop albums. They just come at random. You'll open up a K-pop album and there's normally like 2 to 3 photo cards on the inside, in addition to all of the other stuff that comes with a K-pop album. And the photo cards will match the concept of whatever album you bought. Since photo cards are added to albums at random and there's no guarantee which ones you'll pull, if there is a particular photo card that you're looking for, you can pretty much always find it on Mercari. You can also sell your own photo cards on Mercari if you have duplicates, or if you have a photo card that you think would be happier in someone else's home, you can list it for sale on Mercari. I am actually not the biggest collector of photo cards. I actually don't collect any at all right now. I just keep the ones that I get in the albums that I buy. But I know that for many K-pop fans, collecting photo cards is a very important part of being a K-pop fan, and it's one of the things that they love to do the most. And I highly respect that. There's also tons of different ways that you can display photo cards. You can buy a photo card binder and keep them there. Some people put them in the back of their phone case. You can buy photo card holders, which are these hard plastic things that you can like put on a keychain. There's also top loaders, which are these little plastic sleeves, kind of like baseball card sleeves, that you can keep your photo cards in. Once again, you know that I came prepared with an example. So today I have with me my photo card binder that holds my 17 photo cards, and they're very simple. This one's just black on the outside. It looks like this. I just organized mine in member age order and then put newer comeback photo cards at the beginning of a member's page and then the older ones at the end. So maybe I could get more creative with this, but this is how it is for now. Here's Joshua and June of 17. I also have examples of the plastic photo card holders that you can put on a keychain like I mentioned. So This is one. Oftentimes they have little details, like this one has this little flower on the back. I have another one here that's like got snowflakes on the front, and they're very cute and they're very durable, and you can just put a photo card in there and throw it on your keychain. And then these would be the top loaders that I mentioned, the little plastic sleeves that you can put photo cards in that you maybe want to display outside of a binder or a photo card holder. You can decorate them. My sister put some stickers on this one for me. I think they're meant for the smaller standard size photo cards, but I put the big ones in here too because it's my life and my rules. We are nearing the end with Pal. 8 is going to be Cupsleeve events. And Cupsleeve events are social events that are put on by mutual fans of a K-pop group or a K-pop idol, typically in bigger cities, and they're events where fans get together and celebrate a particular group or a particular idol. Sadly, I don't live in a big enough city to have a lot of Cupsleeve events. I would probably have to drive for like 2 hours before I got to a decent one, so that's on my list of things that I would like to do sometime in the future. It's just not something that I've had a chance to do yet. Examples that I see a lot are Cupsleeve events that are celebrating a particular idol's birthday, but I do know that there are also Cupsleeve events that will celebrate a particular group's debut anniversary. And from what I've seen, oftentimes local vendors will set up and sell their merch at Cupsleeve events, so it's a really cool, really fun way to get to meet other K-pop fans in your community, make some new friends, and support local artists. For number 9, we're going to be talking about the difference between Korean age and international age. So, for example, in America, you're born, and then on your birthday the following year, you turn 1. But in Korea, you're considered 1 at the time that you're born. So it's pretty simple. Basically, Korean age is just 1 year older than international age. And this only gets confusing because, for example, if an idol who was born in 1999 by international age is turning 25 this year, you might hear them refer to themselves as turning 26. So that was something that threw me off a little bit last year when I was getting into K-pop, because I was like, do I not know how to do math? These people are saying that they're 1 year older than they actually are by my understanding of age. Sheep. And we have made it to the end, people. And this one is going to be very short because I am running out of energy. But 10th is the term Hallyu wave, also known as the Korean wave. It basically just refers to the global rise in K-pop's popularity in recent years. Okay, thank you for sticking with me. That is all for today. Please remember to like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and tell me in the comments what was the most surprising or interesting thing that you learned when you were first getting into K-pop. Or if this video was the first crash course you've had to K-pop, let me know what you found to be the most surprising or interesting thing from this video. Thank you for watching. Bye, friends. 시청해 주셔서 감사합니다. 안녕, 친구들. And y'all already know we are going to a blooper reel. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Okay, I gotta stop filming in front of this window because I get distracted by the birds like all the time. My blooper reel is just me getting distracted by the birds. Did I say that right? I think I did. 3rd time is the charm, maybe? Hoping that I hit record. I can't remember if I did. What is my line? I gotta close these blinds. All right. Okay. Can you hear the thunder? Can you hear that? Okay, is this a little... when to use which number system? Did you hear that thunder? Oh, it's still going. Maybe today's blooper reel will be sponsored by the thunder instead of the birds. I'm sure that you've heard... This is about to be so frustrating to kind of explain. Words are hard. The words for when you kind of what is used to describe soundtrack list. I guess the whole thing is just called a soundtrack. It's not a soundtrack list. And I'm realizing that that's probably irrelevant information because you're probably going to be confused if you know nothing about K-pop. Let's do that again. She actually scared me. Did y'all see me jump? Let's see if we got the jump on camera. That was weird. I actually have my carrot bong. Oh, I think this is still recording.